What's up, guys? How you doing? Good morning or afternoon. Kohberger, I don't know if I still have notifications or not. I'm not sure where I stand with that, but I guess I do. It popped up. Kohberger has some type of hearing today where the judge is supposed to weigh in because they want to move this to like a new venue somewhere else. Elsewhere. The Kohberger stuff, I kind of haven't really been following all the motions. They've been doing a lot of motions and hearings and blah, blah, blah for a long time. I'm just ready for the trial, but that's not happening till next year, apparently. But the defense attorneys said in a filing this month that the intense media interest and a severe mob mentality against Kohberger. Maybe that's true, but Kohberger has a lot of support, too. Kohberger has some women that believe in him, that he didn't have anything to do with what happened. There's people that believe he's completely innocent. Good morning. So, they're supposed to be doing that this morning. I don't know how long it's going to last, but... And it's storming over here. It's raining. It's nasty, gritty, and I love it. It's really nice outside. I was messing around with the garden and stuff this morning. So I don't know. Let's see how this goes. I feel like I need to just let my notifications reset on this channel. Erms, what's up? How you been? I feel like I haven't seen you in a while. Motion or bowel movement? Hey, Storm. Rash Life, what's up? The weather's pretty bad over here too right now, so... Let me see if I find a video. Some updates on this guy. Kohberger.
Fourth, today, a judge in Idaho will hear arguments over a key issue left unresolved, where the trial of Byran Kohberger should happen. The accused killer of 4 University of Idaho students is expected to attend today's hearing as the judge weighs whether to keep the trial in Latah County, where the crime took place, a county with roughly 40,000 residents, to serve as the pool for potential jurors, or move it some 300 miles away to Boise, specifically Ada County, with more than 500,000 residents, which would vastly expand the jury pool, something Kohberger's defense has been pushing for.
You shouldn't have a trial in this county.
Their argument? Media coverage has tainted prospective jurors in Moscow and all of Latah County, pointing to a survey they commissioned finding 70% of residents who have heard about the case said they've already formed a guilty opinion.
These are deeply held opinions in this community within this jury pool.
But prosecutors have pushed to keep the proceedings where they are, arguing the extensive media coverage of the case is inescapable.
I don't think that a change of venue is going to solve any of these problems.
Kohberger faces 4 charges of first-degree murder for the fatal stabbings of Madison Mogan, Kaylee Gonsalves.
Damn. Motion. I found some of these hearings to be a little bit boring. I know they got to do it, but I just kind of been like, snooze. What is up, it's Ticket Mail? Damn, look at this. Look at this back in the day with my hair and shit. When I went and got a haircut this time, the guy kind of left the hair on the top, and maybe I should have cut it short. But this was my long hair. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for stopping by. And a little update with regards to Byran Kohberger. There's been a couple of things that have happened, but nothing that I was like, to really cover. But to touch on a couple of things, this shouldn't be really too surprising, but Kohberger has somebody that's infatuated with him and in love with him out of Kentucky, a single mother that here says is the perfect man for her and her divine masculine counterpart, and is writing love letters to him in jail. I had heard about this a while back, and I was like, do I want to cover this? Do I not? Do I want to get this attention? Do I not? But then, I don't know. It's on Daily Mail now. I've had multiple messages about it. I'm not surprised because we've heard of things like this before, that somebody goes to kill and do some horrendous acts, and there's people out there that are in love and infatuated with them. And I was thinking, does this give hope to the incels? But then at the same time, does this encourage incels to do crazy ish? The small percentage, they're not all like that. The small percentage of incels. I said that they're not all like that because I remember I did a video kind of talking about incels and somewhat poking at them. And I got like this ferocious email. I was like, we're not all like that. This is, I was like, all right, cool, bro. All right, I understand. Somebody was really upset. But when I see Wade Wilson, the guy that killed 2 women, and there was a case that I was told about today. I forgot what case. Bro, if you're in, just get out the house, bro. If you're an incel, there's no way you can't find somebody out there. Get out the house. The only thing is Wade Wilson, a lot of women find him attractive. Oh, I wonder if I can find a tweet. A lot of women find him attractive, and a lot of women like the bad guy thing, you know, so. But apparently Wade Wilson got those tattoos in prison. Here it is. Here's the tweet. Oh, he got those tats in prison. Somebody turned him out. Somebody turned him to the dark side. That's what it looked like before. The Prince hair. My aunt loves Prince. Brian is not an incel. So this is a conversation. I know the definition is involuntarily celibate or something like that, right? Let's look it up. I feel like some people say he's not an incel because they think he looks attractive. There's no way he's an incel. Did you see the woman that said she went on a date with him or something? And like he was all awkward and he wanted to like tickle her. Like, did you see that shit? I think he might have been, if not an incel, I think he hates women. If that. Or he's had like bad, because he used to be teased and all that. I covered this a while back. He used to be teased, they used to make fun of him, and then he had this like drastic weight loss and this change in him, you know? And it's actually been a topic of conversation. I think he might be a bit. I think he hated women. That's why he killed his college girl. I think he is. Kohberger. Let's see. I'll keep playing this, but then I'll show you the other video since we're still waiting for these people to start. A little bit late today. That dude, horrendous. Yeah, Brian got rejected. Crimes. And then we'll talk a little bit about these incidents from 3, I think, university students that claim that he would sit there by himself for long periods of time and just stare at people continuously. So make sure you hit the like button, subscribe. Off her dad had previously confessed her love to some other guy that I believe was a killer. A Kentucky woman reveals that she is lovesick over the accused Idaho killer Byran Kohberger, describing him as the perfect man for her and her divine masculine counterpart, and hopes he feels the same way about her. Brittany Hislop, 35-year-old single mother of a 16-year-old boy. Lord almighty, I feel bad for that kid. Has been writing love letters and sending sultry photos of herself to the alleged killer. We know what he's done and committed. The love-struck mom began sharing her infatuation with the alleged killer on January 4th in a lengthy 2,550-word post, though she has never spoken or met with him. In one of her posts, she writes, "One way to describe my feelings for him over the last week or so is kind of like being lovesick." And in another, she refers to a love-making scene in the 1987 vampire film, The Lost Boys. "I'd want to be with my love interest, Brian, in those ways." And she's not a bad-looking woman at all, you know. You see what I did there? And she's not a bad-looking woman at all, you know. Maybe got some mental things going on, maybe stuff going on in her life, or maybe that's just her thing. In a recent post, she spoke about her sensations and desires and shares previous relationships that she had that didn't work out and cost Kohberger her twin flame. And the whole part of where she mentions the part that I just read, where she says she's had previous relationships that didn't work out. I mean, haven't we all? That this guy's like her twin flame. And so I guess she's referring to him maybe having unsuccessful relationships, or maybe the whole incelism. And incelism. Is she a femcel? I mean, she's had relationships. That's a term too, femcel. Apparently that, you know, it's not like that prevalent, but there's something called femcel too. She can't be a femcel, right? I don't know. But she relates to him, it seems like, on these unsuccessful relationships. With me being deprived. They're back. We're having fun. I guess we're getting ready to launch. The hair, right? It's crazy. The t-shirt. It's so funny. YouTube. Some people get notifications, some don't. On the same video, I got a notification. I did not get a notification. I don't know. Understand YouTube. All right, I guess they're talking in the courtroom. We can finish this, but I have another funny video with that about this woman that supposedly went on a date with Kohberger. It's kind of crazy. I always wonder what happened to this Kentucky woman of a love and sex life for so long and only wanting one with someone I truly want wholeheartedly with my. And the funny thing somewhat about this woman that had this infatuation with Byran Kohberger is that she had a previous infatuation with some other guy that was locked up, some other killer, alleged killer. Well, the other guy was convicted. And at first, like, she was hitting, from what I can remember, she was like hitting up the guy and hitting on him. And the guy like started kind of like to reject her. And I guess the guy's mother said she's no good for you. Imagine a murderer being locked up in prison and you're out on the outside and you're trying to hit this guy up. And the guy's mother's like, nah, she's no good for you, bro. and then she went on to Kohberger. My feelings for Byran, I've had to be true to myself in reaching out to him. She had wrote in a post on Friday giving insight on why she feels as she does and how she added hearts and a pair of lipstick stickers to his mugshot that she said it penetrated something in me emotionally. Oh, they're about to start. There's Kohberger. Some people may not. Okay, all right. I have to start. No notification? Let me check.
So let's get on the record, please. We're now on the record. This is State versus Byran Kohberger, case number CR 29222805. Mr. Kohberger is in the courtroom. He is represented by Ms. Taylor, Mr. Logsdon, and Ms. Nassif. The state is represented by Mr. Thompson. Ms. Jennings, okay, I didn't see you immediately. Ms. Beatty and Mr. Nye. We're here on a motion to change venue from Latah County to Ada County, filed by the defense. Preliminary, anything, Mr. Thompson?
In your honor, not from the state.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Taylor?
Your Honor, just that there is a stipulation that the court received the exhibits that were filed along with our declaration and our memorandum in support. That's correct, Your Honor.
All right. So we're talking about all those slides? There were like 100 slides.
There were 100 slides, Your Honor. We're talking about those, but in particular, the references to all of the media coverage, the articles that were contained, the table with the links to all of the articles that depict all of the media coverage.
So are you going to show those publicly, or those are for me because I'm the one who has to make the decision?
Those are for you. Yeah,
okay.
We'll have PowerPoint presentations today, but we will not be going through the hundreds of articles that have been provided for the court's consideration.
Well, I'm thankful for that because I did look through all that and I thought, oh, this would be not a good thing to, push out to the public because we're trying to protect that, right?
Your Honor, we are, and I think it would take an extraordinary amount of court time to try to read through all of the articles or review all of the bits of news coverage that have happened in this case. We do intend to offer a little bit of a preview throughout our testimony, but certainly not the hundreds of articles and news stories that have existed.
Well, that was my other concern. So, all right. Well, call your first witness.
Your Honor, Ms. Massa, we'll start.
Okay.
Okay. First witness.
Thank you.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
Oh,
Your
they're
Honor,
standing there.
as we get started here today, what I'd like to do is provide you with a roadmap of where we're going with our witnesses. The standard here is whether there's a reasonable likelihood that pretrial publicity has affected the impartiality of prospective jurors. To establish the quantity of pretrial publicity, we will call James Todd Murphy with true scope. To establish effect on partiality, we will call Dr. L. Alili to discuss the social science behind juror decision-making. Then we will call Dr. Brian Edelman about the survey and what it means. And finally, we will call Dr. Dare about the validity of the survey methodology. We are not calling today Scott Sunby, but as you listen to testimony today, please keep his sworn affidavit in mind. With his 39 years of studying capital juries and teaching at the National Judicial College, he is considered by the United States Supreme Court an expert in this area. He has published this book. It's called A Life and Death Decision, A Jury Weighs the Death Penalty. And this book is a culmination of interviews of over 1,200 capital jurors and how capital juries make decisions. Research shows that when a small community creates pressure to impose death, an Eighth Amendment violation may occur. Through these witnesses today, we want to avoid beginning a trial with, as Mr. Sunby states, quote, a thumb on death's side of the scale, end quote. And with that, I call James Todd Murphy.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, James Todd Murphy. All right. So they're trying to argue the publicity.
Come on up this way, or however you can find your way through. And please face the clerk, raise your hand.
You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give in this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury.
I do. All right. Thank you, sir. Please have a seat there. And once you're seated, please state your name and spell your last.
James Todd Murphy. I go by Todd, my middle name. Last name is Murphy.
All right. Sir, Captain Jackson.
Mr. Murphy, how are you employed?
I'm the president of True Scope. That's spelled TRUESCOPE. It's one word.
And can you explain what True Scope is?
Sure. True Scope is a media monitoring and analysis service. We wrap our arms around all the media types out there. You can do it on a global level or a geographically isolated level. Normalize all that data from television, radio, newspapers, magazines, social media, online sources. Index that with metadata so we know date, time, placement. We assign sentiment metrics to it. And from that, we can extract data sets for what our clients need, specific to topics or phrases.
Can you explain how you track this media intelligence that you just described?
Sure. So we have feeds that are coming in. For example, we acquire a feed from X, formerly Twitter. We have an online feed that accesses all available online sources. We have a broadcast feed of TV, radio, and podcasts. All those feeds come into us as they're broadcasted, as they're posted, as they air or are printed. We don't do any modification of the text or the context. We just take it as it was provided by the content owner, index, store, and then run queries against it.
Where did you travel from to be with us here today?
Our North America headquarters are in Omaha, Nebraska, where I live.
Would you tell the court about your background in media intelligence?
Sure. Might sound cliche, but I was born into the business. My father acquired press clipping service called Universal Press Clipping Bureau in 1959. Eventually met my mother. Without further detail, eventually I became in existence. It's a technical phrase, I'm not sure. So working alongside my father growing up was just part of the DNA. I studied psychology and communications in college, and when I graduated, the internet was beginning to become a thing. And so I saw a future of data mining and expanding what was a press clipping service into the future. So my full-time employment with Universal at the time started in 1991 and came to today.
Beyond your 30 years of experience that you've described in your educational background, do you have other qualifications in this area?
Yes. So in the mid-90s, I developed a framework for comparative media analysis where we could take those data sets and compare. My first project was letting hospitals compare themselves to others to see how one brand of a hospital might compare to another within a community or market. I also invented the first multi-channel media monitoring software that would let us monitor multiple TV channels on one computer and write the closed captioning text to a database simultaneously. Innovations not quite as exciting as those continued throughout the years. I also made other acquisitions, which I then folded into Universal, buying up other monitoring services in Alaska or Wisconsin or wherever. Eventually merged my company with TrueScope, a technology company out of Australia. TrueScope owns Universal Information Services at this point, and we're adding AI and other natural language processing to what we do.
What about organizations? Are you part of any organizations in this field?
I am. There's a global organization of all media intelligence services called FIVEB. That's spelled F-I-B as in boy, E-P as in Paul. Every continent except the uninhabited ones have many, often multiple media intelligence or media monitoring services. They belong, or most belong, to this organization. My peers in this organization elected me president to lead this organization at a global level last year. I'm currently the president of FIVEB.
And have you ever testified related to your expertise before?
I have been asked to do that and have done so, yes.
Before you start talking about the data in this case, how closely have you followed this case on a factual level?
I kind of have a personal standard operating procedure that when a client engages us on a topic that I feel for our company may become contentious or may have downstream effects where I might be called to objectively testify, I purposely remove myself from evaluating the content of the data set related to the subjects that are asking us to monitor. So while I have made myself familiar with the search strategy, the keywords, the phrases, which would include the defendant's name and the family names of the students that are victims, I have done very little. I paid very little attention to the media exposure on this. In fact, I just learned that the judge of this case has a last name that sounds like he was born for this role. That was last night. I didn't know who the judge was. What coincidence. My apologies for not knowing who you were until last night. Thank you.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Ms. Saucier, who testified last year in this case?
Yes, Jean Saucier is my right-hand person. She's a senior vice president of client success. She has a media measurement background that started years before she came to be under my employment. I would venture to say she's as much of an expert in this area as I am. And
I know, I need to go live there. I know, it's been a while.
Expert, but since she's not, I'll tell you that for myself.
So for context purposes, when she testified about data in TrueScope, is it the same set of data that you've just testified to?
Exact same data. We work at the same company. We have access to the exact tools. She works with clients directly as yourself, and I work directly with her.
How is TrueScope using media intelligence in this case?
I'll say it maybe functionally. We have been asked by you, our client, to track specific topics related to this case, names associated, and I might say the more unique a phrase is, the more accurate our media monitoring can be. If the name was John Smith and Susan Jones, then we have to do much more Boolean logic, apply more Boolean logic to make sure that we're focused on extracting it's very specific. So for you, we've built a search query using Boolean logic and AI to focus on the stories that are of interest in this case. The second half of what we're doing, so that's the media monitoring. We first capture the data. That creates a data set. Then that data set is analyzed by our analysis team, which is led by Cheryl Lewis, Theril, Lewis, Lewis. And she has an assistant data analyst who they're trained in a way that we call cross-coder proficiency. So whether Cheryl analyzes a story or Perry, her assistant, analyzes it, they analyze it in the same manner. That also creates a check and balance that if something in the media monitoring function picks up a story that matches the name Judge, but for some reason isn't the Judge associated with this case, the analyst then at a human level can say, that's the wrong Judge, and it would be removed from the data set at the analysis level.
What objectives is TrueScope trying to achieve in this case?
We've been primarily asked to look at the, without even being hyperbolic, would say an extreme amount of media coverage, its impact on a population or a community, and a statistical volume of that media exposure on various communities across the U.S., but focused on several counties within Idaho.
How long has TrueScope been gathering data for Mr. Kohberger's case?
I believe we were engaged on February 15th, 2023. We have some ability to pull some data forward from that time, but that's when technically the engagement came.
And you've talked about the media types and the data that's gathered. Is area or location of media coverage able to be determined?
Yes, in most cases, maybe I'll separate that into two areas of media. You have traditional media, which would be television, radio, newspapers, magazines, even online news sources. Those are all tied to a specific city and state. You have the Moscow Daily News, and the metadata we have attached to that source would say, okay, that publication name is in the city of Moscow, in the state of Idaho, and has a circulation figure of, I'll say, hypothetically, 3,000 readers. I don't know the exact.
That's it, 3,000? Okay, well, maybe it's like local, so it's more.
Each television news affiliate, local news comes from what's called a local news affiliate. It may be the ABC affiliate, but it may have call letters such as KXLY, I think is one.
I mean, Kohberger definitely at the time, it's not even just their state and city or whatever. It was all over the place, everywhere.
Channels.
Shit show.
And they may be an NBC or an ABC affiliate, but they're the local affiliates who's in charge of airing local news. And Nielsen media data, Nielsen services, you may have heard of Nielsen boxes and market ranks and things like that. They know that that station is in this city, in this state, and each affiliate is part of a DMA, a designated market area. Stop me if I'm going too far down the rabbit hole, but a designated market area, although the news may come out of Spokane, Washington, the designated market area is a radius around that can take in additional cities, counties, and at the functional level, consumers of news, viewers in this case.
Is frequency of media coverage able to be determined?
Yeah, we, since on television, newspapers, online, demographics can change over time, can change by day. So a good example of frequency, why frequency matters, a local news affiliate might have a 6 to 7 a.m. newscast, a midday newscast, a 5 p.m. and a 10 p.m. Depending on what time zone you're in, those can be adjusted based on network. But let's say that they ran a story about anything. They might have run it in the morning where the demographics skew one way. They might run it at midday, which might have a much smaller audience or potential viewership. They might run it at 5 o'clock, which would have people who come home from work early or those who are unemployed. And then at 10 o'clock generally can be the largest audience. So knowing what time they run it lets us know the demographics, the audience, and even
oh, they disabled the chat?
Values. We won't get into that, but what time a story airs and how many times it runs, we aggregate that and we can say, okay, this story ran 4 times on this channel on one day and had a total viewership potential of, say, 50,000. That doesn't mean I watched it at all 4 times. That just means the viewership at each of those times has the potential to see it. And that's where frequency comes into play.
Are there types of media coverage that Truth Scope does not gather?
We don't track anything that's illegal. We don't go behind, we don't penetrate privacy rules, such as your personal Facebook pages if they're marked private. We also don't look at streaming entertainment channels such as Peacock, Hulu, where the content on those channels often is broadcast originally in a specific time zone. We call that an ephemeral broadcast, where it aired at 5 o'clock and then was lost to the ether. But Hulu and those streaming channels give the opportunity for that story then to be posted, and you can watch it at your leisure in a time shifting. We don't monitor those adjacent streaming channels, because they're subscription based, demographics are different, and we already have the content as it was aired originally.
I'm going to hand you what's been stipulated and admitted as a part of Exhibit C. I've shown the state, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Okay, so they got some type of exhibit. It's storming. If the power goes out,
court, what that is.
I have a backup, but it won't last long.
A very base level spreadsheet of all the media exposure, just looking at some of the topics specific to this account that you've engaged us for, including the topics that you've specified we monitor for your account. It includes various things like the type of media, so it might be Twitter or print or broadcast. It would include the metadata we include, city, state, circulation, viewership, things like that. There's also hyperlinks. As a client of ours, you would receive, if you exported this from your workspace or we exported it for you, you would have a hyperlink. You would click on that. Because we have a cookie on your computer, it would open that hyperlink and you could see the full story. Unless it's an online story or a social media story, then we take you directly to that end source. So if it's MoscowDailyNews.com and it's in front of their paywall, you would click on that link and you can view that story yourself.
Is Exhibit C in front of you specific to Latah County?
Yes, I see under county, spot checking it and spinning through where it can be determined. These are all Latah County related. Some of them are cities within Latah County.
Is the list of Exhibit C approximately 1,360 entries long?
Yes, I can confirm that's the number of rows, which and each row would indicate a individual media mention, or also known as a media story, an article or a news story on a broadcast.
And Your Honor, I won't have him hand that to you now, but for purposes of the record, that will be a paper copy for the court's file. You have that in an Excel spreadsheet that's much easier to read than what is in that paper in there.
Right, okay, so this was agreed by state too. So I just want to make sure, because I have the exhibit C also that was attached to your brief,
Which is
300 pages. So, but then we have the additional C, which is more, I guess, thorough.
So this is a part of C related to TrueScope, which is this list of the 1,300 stories. And then I'm about to get into the other part of Exhibit C, which is TrueScope's report.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. Just wanted to clear that up.
Did you prepare some other documents that represent media coverage in 4 counties in Idaho for this case?
We did. Once TrueScope had and it's an ongoing thing. We're constantly monitoring your news. So even this morning, you would have received a report of any media exposure that has happened since yesterday morning. It runs on a 24-hour cycle where we push out a report to the clients, but we're collecting it in real time. So if a client wanted to look at their workspace at 3 p.m. today, all that news would be in there.
Oh, okay.
I may have digressed from your question.
That's coming to hand you an exhibit.
Okay.
This is the second part of C, and I'm going to put that in front of you because it might be easier to see. You've got 2 screens.
Yes, that was the second part of my answer. We did prepare a media measurement analysis. Cheryl Lewis's team, and that's part of the combination of services that we're providing.
Okay, looking at this page here, can you please explain to the court what this is?
Sure. You have 2 pie charts. On the left, you have the volume of media coverage specific to the keywords and phrases searched for our client related to this case. You see on the left, out of all the media coverage between January 1st of 2023 and July 15th, 36% of that coverage, or just over 36% of that, was seen or had the opportunity to be seen in Latah County. On the right side, you have another pie chart that shows the population of Idaho, and it shows what percentage Latah County represents of the total percentage of Idaho, which is 2.75%.
On the second bullet point of notes there's some reference to census. Can you explain that note?
Sure. The census data used for this was from, I believe, July of 23. Of the 40,924 people in Latah County, we were asked to look at age eligible to serve on jury duty amongst all of that, the people in the county, which equated to 61%, or just under 25,000 people of the nearly 41,000 all are age eligible to serve on the jury.
Right.
In Latah County.
Going to the next page, what does this page tell the court?
This is the same analysis framework performed on a different county. Again, on the left, you see the total media coverage in Idaho for the same date range, but 34% of the media coverage was seen in Ada County, which is just a couple percentage points below that of Latah County. The primary difference is the right-hand pie chart, which shows the population of Ada County relative to all of Idaho, and it's over a quarter of the state population, 78 or 26.42%.
What conclusions do you draw when you compare the 2 counties' data?
There's a lot more people in Ada County, and where I would be going with that as media analysis, when I would interpret this from a media analysis perspective, is the propensity to dilute the media exposure in a larger population is a factual function of that. If you have a certain number of stories divided by the population, the number of stories a person can see is fewer if the population is larger. Did that answer your question, or was I?
I'll follow up with another specific one. Out of the two counties, where is the most opportunity for a resident to view stories about this case?
It's by far in Ada County. When we did the analysis of the age eligible process, nearly 300,000 people in Ada County are jury age eligible, compared to just under 25,000 in Latah County.
I'm gonna just ask my question again. It was probably inartful on my part. Do more people in Latah County, is there more saturation in Latah County or more saturation with media coverage in Ada County?
Yes. A person in Latah County would be exposed to far more media coverage than people, a community in Ada County.
Can we now switch to the third slide? What does this show?
This adds in 2 additional counties that we were asked to look at. It reflects media exposure specific to Bannock and Camden counties.
And and then there's also a gray area rest of Idaho. You just want to explain what we see here?
Sure. So if you look at the volume of media coverage for the same date range that the first 2, Latah, Ada, and then 4 counties we're looking at, out of all the media exposure for the state of Idaho, Latah received 36%, Ada had 27%, Bannock 1.56%, and Camden just over 3%. And the rest of Idaho got just under a third of the meetings. So outside those 4 counties, the rest of the counties in Idaho, for the rest of the people that, rephrase that, the rest of the regions in Idaho would have been exposed to approximately 31.53% of the media exposure.
Do you turn next to, I believe it's page 5.
Oh.
Explain what opportunities to be seen are and the differences in the counties.
Sure. So in this pie chart, again, we're looking at the same date range. Opportunities to be seen are maybe best described relative to probability versus possibility. Each person in any of these 4 counties, or the rest of Idaho for that matter, have an equal possibility to see a story. It's like flipping a coin. You can flip a coin 100 times and the possibility of it coming up heads is equal every time. The probability of it coming up heads every time is much different. Probability is a mathematical statement, a quantitative measure. And so opportunities to be seen are dependent on the media type. So we measure opportunities to be seen for, say, newspapers based on their circulation. These are paid subscribers who you then infer pay to receive that news, they consume that news. Television has Nielsen audience figures. Nielsen measures those in smaller markets quarterly, in larger markets 6 times a year, I believe. In the broadcast markets we're talking about, and the DMAs affecting this pie chart, would be measured quarterly. So opportunities to be seen are the possibility that people in that county would see it. It's the volume of those opportunities that creates the potential opportunity or probability that they've been exposed to X number of articles or media mentions, discrete articles, stories about this topic you're having us track. The numbers reflected on the pie chart show that over half of those opportunities to be seen reside within Latah County, nearly 60% or 57.03%. The opportunities to be seen per person in Ada County is 31.2%, not quite half, but nearly half the opportunities. And that's a simple mathematical function of all the media exposure in that county divided by the population, or in this case, potentially age eligible for jury duty population.
And in terms of the green sliver there, Canyon County is close to Ada. And so if we assume that Canyon County residents might review Ada County News with its population of 180,000, is the dilution of Latah County or the dilution of Canyon County still significantly greater than the saturation in Latah County?
If I understand the question correctly, how I may answer that is Canyon, and I would also say Bannock, unless you don't want me to mention Bannock, but the media exposure specific to those counties is statistically insignificant relative to the rest of Idaho, Latah County, and Ada County. In fact, if you combined all those two and grouped them into either one of those, it wouldn't change the inferences that we make on the data between Ada and Latah.
Can you turn to the next slide now?
Tricia, thank you. Right back. I was eating. I was eating pizza. I didn't want you
Tell
guys.
the court which line represents which county and the color.
Sure, the darker line, the red line is maybe the easier one to see. That's Ada County, and the darker line, it's a blue or might look black on the screen, is Latah County.
And Judge, for your purposes, this is C1 that was filed with the reply, which is an update from the original memorandum to include a more recent date, the date that we filed, August 19th, the reply. So I don't know what one you're looking at, but the one on your computer screen is the one that we're talking about right now.
Thank you to tell me that.
Could you explain, Mr. Murphy, what the purpose of showing this over time does for the court?
Yeah, one of the more interesting charts that we develop for our clients is media coverage over time. And in this case, we're looking at January 1st of 23 through August 19th of 24. If you look at the red line, which is Ada County, you can see that aside from May 2023, it often lags by volume of coverage behind Latah County, in most cases by 50% or more of the media coverage. So if I rephrase that in maybe simpler terms, the media exposure in Ada County for the majority of time between January 2023 and August, continuing into August 2024, has been far less in Ada County than in Latah County.
And what can you tell from the spikes? Have you correlated those with case events?
Sure. It might be convenient to look at it analogous to maybe a stock portfolio. Oftentimes a peak is followed by a valley, unless you invest in NVIDIA. But May 2023, you see 198 stories. I believe that highest peak for Ada County was the indictment is what's driving that peak. Now, when you compare that to Latah County, I can see that moving towards that indictment, there was ongoing media coverage. So while Ada spiked, it had a quick uptick and what I would call a fairly slow decay because of the extreme nature of the topic of this story. When we look at Latah County, it is more consistent. And after the indictment, Latah County surpasses media coverage over time consistently up through August of this year.
And this was filed with the court on August 19th, and we're here on August 29th. Have you been able to review and see what's going on with the coverage regarding this case right now as we sit here?
Yeah, I took a look Tuesday. I started seeing the media exposure ticking up again. It was fairly high yesterday. In my professional opinion, I would wager it's going to be extremely high today. And that's a function of public interest in an extreme news story. A story, you may have heard the phrase, this story has legs. A story that is extreme, unique, atypical, has greater legs than, say, high school football scores you hear on the 10 o'clock news on a Friday night. Those would have a very fast decay of memory on consuming viewers. This type of story will remain on the mind and be of interest up to and beyond the conclusion of this case, however that might be.
Would you flip to the next slide? This green line, what does it show?
It shows somewhat of a similar pattern across the entire country. It's the same date range. It's also showing media coverage over time, but it's looking at all media exposure nationwide. So while you feel things very acutely locally, even a story as extreme as this garners less interest the further you get away from the local community. And to look at this on a nationwide chart like this, you can see it remains in the mind, and these are large numbers. The indictment of over 13,268 or 13,268 media mentions on May 2023 shows that the nation was interested in it, but that decay has been faster on a nationwide level just because, according to the decay of engagement on news stories, the further you get away, the less, I don't mean to sound callous, but the less interesting it is if you're in Florida than if you are in Latah County or something.
So in terms of looking at decay, I want to ask this in the context of the story waning for the court's purposes of projecting, say, months months down the line next year at trial. Based on the data that you're seeing, is this story waning in the news?
No. In fact, if we could make one more line on any of these media coverage over time charts, you would see an upslope on the first one, this chart. So you already see it ticking up when I compared Latah to Ada. If we could bring that chart forward to today, you would see that going up, and that will be consistent. Anytime this case has significant news or a significant hearing in Latah and Idaho County, it will be of interest. And I would say that the delta or the difference between Latah and Idaho County will continue to be statistically similar. It will probably potentially always be of greater interest in Latah County than in Idaho County. Not to diminish the interest in Idaho County, it's just, I believe it's further away than Latah County from where the alleged crime was committed, or the crime was committed.
Is Nez Perce and Lewiston are they a part of Latah County's designated market area?
To my knowledge, yes.
What does that mean for Lewiston and Nez Perce to be a part of the designated market area of Latah?
That's real simple. If the population in other county, they're cities.
Nez Perce is a county, Lewiston is a city.
Okay. So the population of those, I guess, could you rephrase the question?
What does it mean for those, for Nez Perce County and Lewiston City to be a part of the Latah County designated market area.
Okay, so that would increase the population of people that have opportunities to see the story within the same designated market area. So if you're in Latah County, you have the same potential to see the stories in Nez Perce and Lewiston. Does that change the mathematical outcome of the original pie charts we looked at? Those two counties combined with Latah County would have to exceed the population of Ada County in order for this dynamic to change. I don't know how many people are exactly in each of those counties, but if together with Latah County, they exceed 295,000 potential jury eligible jurors, then you might be able to say the impact from the media on those two populations or exposure to media could be equal. But if Nez Perce and Lewiston are smaller counties and together with Latah are still significantly lower than Ada County, that's not going to change the determination I've made in this data.
I have no further questions.
Okay, let's see if they counteract that. What they have to say. Prosecution.
So, Ms. Beatty here?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Cross-examination.
Just briefly, Your Honor. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Just for my own clarification, on those pie charts, when it says Latah County and Ada County, are you limiting that to the boundaries of the specific county, or are you talking about the broader designated market area?
When what we're looking at is media mentioned that impacted the county.
The county specifically.
Right. So.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So in looking at those line graphs that you presented, I noticed that they started in January of 2023.
Correct.
So December of 2022, Mr. Kohberger was arrested. Were you able to make any determinations of media coverage in December of 2022 at the time Mr. Kohberger was arrested?
We were not engaged nor tracking the media.
No.
And that's not possible to go back and track that.
We can do what's called a back search, but we can't.
Why not?
Certain media types have expired. Online news links, social media might have been taken down. So you can do it. I wouldn't say I would present it with confidence.
Thank you.
I can show you a number.
Thank you. So fair to say, though, that there probably would have been a pretty substantial spike at that time as well.
I would say yes.
And possibly, although you can't say for sure, that spike could have been even higher than any of the other spikes on this
That's
graph.
right.
Possibly.
The possibility exists.
Thank you, sir. So for the first 6 months on this chart of volume of media coverage over time for Latah and Ada County had more intense media coverage in January, February, March, April, May, and then June, and then in July, there's that crossover where Latah County is higher than Ada County. So fair to say for that first 6 months, Ada County did have, at times, fairly significantly more media coverage than Latah County.
Correct.
Okay. And counsel talked with you about these peaks and how they correspond with specific events in the case, such as court hearings. Would you expect that if the court were to make a decision to start closing certain hearings, particularly evidentiary hearings as we approach trial, that would be a mitigating factor that would decrease the amount of media coverage in this case?
I can't say yes or no on that. I would say it depends. If those closed meetings were a public record, then the media most likely that's following this would still have a high probability of reporting on it. They may just not have any image or interviews or some of the elements that go into a more engaging news story.
So the coverage might be less intense.
Intense is a qualification that I'm not able to make. I can't tell you how intense something impacts you as a viewer or a consumer of news.
Sure, thank you. And I noticed in that chart of Latah County and Ada County coverage that in the last couple months, that coverage intensity in both of those counties has become pretty close again. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, yes.
And so based on these charts, it's really not beyond the realm of possibility that Ada County could again surpass Latah County in coverage, at least at certain points, correct?
Again, there's an equal chance of possibility. The probability based on the data, I would say is no, in my professional opinion. We've already seen an uptick, and it appears that in Ada County, the news is much more focused and attentive, even to what I might consider a less weighted story. I think there was a story recently about a memorial garden or something that this county garnered quite a bit of media exposure. But that's logical. Sure.
Well, in June of 2024, it looks like they got so close that they were just 2 points apart. Is that correct? Latah County just 2 points above?
Yeah.
And you're not willing to testify that there's a possibility that Ada County could potentially surpass Latah County in the future?
I'll absolutely guarantee that possibilities are always equally available.
Thank you, sir. I have no further questions.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Beatty. Ms. Matthew?
Mr. Murphy, in terms of this discussion on Ada versus Latah, you mentioned the Nielsen rankings. Could you please tell the court the difference between what the Nielsen ranking is, and then I'll follow up with what Latah's is and what Ada County's is. So what's a Nielsen ranking?
Sure. So I don't want to assume that most people have heard of the Nielsen ratings, but anyone who's involved with selling advertising or the news media knows that Nielsen for more than 50 years has measured the top 200 designated market areas. New York City is number one. It's the largest DMA. The media in that market reaches the most people. And so it's a measure of how many active news consumers, is the way I would describe it, are in a city or a city's area. I know we're looking at counties, but your designated market area here in Latah County fall under the radius, I think I mentioned earlier, Spokane, Washington. In Ada County, their designated market area.
I want to cheese it.
Boise, Idaho. A different deal.
And what's the Nielsen ranking of Latah County?
It's ranked 64 out of 210.
And what is Boise?
97.
I have nothing. So I should follow up and say, in terms of how that's measured, 64 mean that is a higher rank than Boise at 97.
The DMA in which Latah County resides has far more opportunities for media stories to be seen based on the strength of the DMA. As you get down to the smaller DMAs, for example, Glendive, Montana, has historically been market 210 last. They have one CBS affiliate. There's just not a lot of news coming out of an area, a DMA like Glendive. But on the two counties you're talking about, they reside in a DMA that's 64 for Latah County. A larger DMA is going to have more media opportunities to be seen and more media outlets available. As you get to smaller markets, you have fewer and fewer media outlets serving there.
Nothing further. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Beatty?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, may this
Next witness.
witness
Move
be
on.
excused.
He can, Your Honor, and the exhibits that are with him can go for you for the court's paper file for the record.
Thank you. Okay, sir, you're free to leave or you're free to stay. Thank you.
This has really been dragging on for a long time.
Being
And in general, Byran Kohberger, like, holy crap.
Thank you.
What's next? I have to leave soon. Go get the baby. But come on, Judge. Well, I guess it's the
They're
witness.
very small letters.
I agree, Your Honor. It was really hard to get them on one page. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Why don't we take a quick break and maybe come back at 10:20. Okay? Thank you.
What is that? 10:26? Oh, maybe this is delayed.
10:20. Okay? Thank you.
Honestly, it's not that interesting. I'm probably just gonna get off soon and end it because I gotta go pick up the baby, and this is like whatever. I just give me the end result at the end. Did they move it? Did they not? And they're probably not even gonna decide today. It's gonna be like something after. Bro, watch this shit. Attacking this guy. If this was reverse roles, this person would have been arrested. All right, lady. All right, get off me, lady. Oh my god! Just crawling on the floor. He's trying to run away. She's really trying this dude. Jeez. She on something? I'm telling you, if the genders were reversed, this person would have been arrested. But because it's the other way around, it's okay and acceptable. Oh, yeah! Hold it! Hey! Hold it! Hey! Isn't that wild to see? Isn't that some crazy shit? Let me make sure. I don't want anything inappropriate to show. Hey! Well, it's the weirdest thing ever. I don't know. That was in that was in Spain apparently. And somebody said, "Oh, now I know they have meth in Spain." And somebody else posted like a screenshot, and they're like, "Damn, this chick is down bad." Where's that video at? Or the clip at? I can't find it. It's kind of funny. But yeah, I guess I'm gonna get off because I have to head out, and it's kind of whatever. I might go on the political channel tonight. I have to see. I think there's something going on at 7. I thought it was 6. Apparently it's 7 p.m. Eastern. So I might jump on there. Hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, yeah. What the hell? I think that's it. All right. So I'll catch you guys later. Love you. Bye. Bloop, 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 bloop.